Have you ever felt like you're carrying an emotional weight that you just can't put down, no matter how hard you try? You want to move on, to free yourself from the hold someone has on your mind, yet you keep getting pulled back. It's exhausting. It can feel like an invisible chain tying you to the past, preventing you from living fully in the present. But what if I told you that breaking free isn't as impossible as it seems? That there is a way to detach, not with coldness or indifference, but with strength and wisdom. The ancient Stoic philosophers understood this struggle long before we ever put a name to it. Their teachings provide a roadmap to emotional resilience, helping us let go of what no longer serves us without losing ourselves in the process. Detachment is not about shutting off your emotions. It's about taking back control. Right now, it may feel like your happiness depends on someone else, that their actions dictate your mood, your thoughts, your entire sense of self. But imagine if that power was in your hands instead. Imagine waking up and knowing that no matter what happens outside of you, you are steady, grounded, and at peace. That's what Stoicism can teach us. To truly detach, we must first understand why we cling. Is it fear of being alone? Is it the comfort of familiarity, even when it hurts us? Or is it the belief that without this person, this situation, we are somehow incomplete? The mind tricks us into thinking we need what we are used to, even if it's causing us pain. But comfort is not the same as happiness. Security is not the same as fulfillment. And attachment, when taken too far, is not love. It is dependence. Think of your emotions like a boat on the ocean. If the boat is tied to a single dock, it cannot move. It stays in one place, rocked by every wave, vulnerable to every storm. But if you untie it, if you trust that the ocean will carry you forward, suddenly you are free. Free to explore, to experience, to grow. The waves will still come, but they will no longer control you. You are not meant to stay anchored to pain. Detaching does not mean erasing memories or pretending you never cared. It means shifting your perspective. It means realizing that your worth is not determined by someone else's presence or absence in your life. The person you are, your value, your growth. These things exist independent of anyone else. No one completes you because you are already whole. There is a common illusion that if we let go, we lose something precious. But the truth is, holding on to what hurts us is what keeps us from receiving something better. The mind clings to the familiar, even when it's painful, because it fears the unknown. But the unknown is not your enemy. It is your freedom. Now ask yourself this: what would happen if you released your grip on the past? If you stopped replaying old conversations, stopped hoping for a different ending, stopped defining yourself by a story that no longer serves you? What if instead of waiting for someone else to change, you became the person who no longer needed them to? The moment you realize that your peace is not dependent on anyone else, you become untouchable. No one can take away something they never had control over to begin with. Letting go is not a single decision. It is a daily practice. It is waking up and choosing yourself over and over again. It is reminding yourself that what is meant for you will never require you to beg, to shrink, or to suffer. It is trusting that your life is unfolding exactly as it should, and that anything or anyone who exits was never meant to stay. You do not need to fight for your place in someone else's life. You do not need to prove your worth to anyone. The moment you accept this, you reclaim your power. You free yourself from the illusion that your happiness is in someone else's hands. The ancient Stoics believed in focusing only on what we can control, and the only thing we ever truly control is ourselves, our thoughts, our actions, our perceptions. Everything else is beyond us. We cannot control how others feel, what they do, or whether they stay. But we can control how we respond, and that response determines everything. So today, choose yourself. Choose to let go. Choose to step forward, not because you stopped caring, but because you started caring about yourself more. You do not need permission to move on. You do not need closure from someone else. The only closure you ever needed was the decision to begin again. There is a moment in every journey of detachment where something shifts. At first, the pain feels unbearable. The mind resists. It clings to the past, replaying memories, convincing you that letting go is a mistake. But then, without warning, a quiet realization appears. You have survived. The thing you thought you couldn't live without is already behind you, and you are still standing. The weight you carried begins to lift. The grip loosens. And in that moment, you understand that you were never truly trapped. You simply believed you were. This is what the Stoics called perception. The mind creates stories, attaching meaning to events, making them seem more powerful than they really are. But what if you changed the story? What if instead of seeing loss, you saw a lesson? Instead of rejection, redirection. Instead of pain, an opportunity to become stronger. Detachment is not an overnight process. It is not a single decision, but a series of choices. Some days, you will feel free. Other days, you will feel the pull of the past. That's normal. The key is to remain steady, to remind yourself that progress is not always visible, but it is happening. Each time you choose peace over obsession, clarity over confusion, self-respect over desperation, you win. The world will tell you that moving on requires closure, but Stoicism teaches us that closure is a myth. No external event will suddenly make the pain disappear. No final conversation will give you the peace you seek. True closure comes from within, the decision to no longer let something define you. You do not need an apology. You do not need an explanation. You need only to decide that your life is worth more than waiting for someone else to validate it. Imagine looking back a year from now. Do you want to see yourself still stuck in the same place, reliving the same memories, waiting for something that will never come? Or do you want to see yourself thriving, stronger than before, free from the chains that once held you back? The choice is yours. And the moment you decide, the healing begins. You may not feel ready. You may still hear the whispers of doubt. That's okay. Courage is not the absence of fear. It is acting in spite of it. Every great transformation begins with discomfort. But discomfort is not a sign to turn back. It is proof that you are stepping into something new, something greater. The Stoics believed in accepting reality, not resisting it. What has happened cannot be undone. What is gone will not return. But this is not a loss. It is a beginning, a new chapter, a blank page, an opportunity to create something better. And this time, you will not build your happiness around someone else. You will build it within yourself. There is a kind of freedom that comes with releasing what no longer belongs to you. It is the freedom of knowing that nothing outside of you has the power to shake your peace. That no person, no situation, no event can take away what is truly yours. Your strength, your dignity, your ability to rise again. So when the past calls, let it go to voicemail. When the memories try to pull you back, remind yourself of who you are becoming. And when doubt creeps in, remember this: you are not losing anything. you are gaining yourself. True freedom comes when you no longer seek your worth in things beyond your control. The Stoics understood this well. They believed that suffering is not caused by external events, but by how we interpret them. If you see an ending as a tragedy, it will weigh on you like one. But if you see it as a doorway to something greater, it will become exactly that. The way you frame your experiences determines their power over you. It is easy to believe that happiness comes from the presence of certain people or the success of certain plans. But the reality is nothing external can guarantee lasting peace. The only true source of stability is within. You may not control what happens to you, but you always control how you respond. And that response is everything. Imagine a scale. On one side is your peace of mind, your clarity, your future. On the other side is the past, memories, attachments, emotions tied to something that no longer serves you. The only reason the past still weighs you down is because you keep placing it on the scale. The moment you stop, the balance shifts. You begin to rise. You begin to feel lighter. Letting go does not mean forgetting. It means remembering without attachment. It means allowing yourself to acknowledge the past without being controlled by it. You can appreciate what was while embracing what is and what will be. The past is a chapter, not the entire book. You are still writing your story. The mind resists change. You will continue. And as you take each step forward, you will realize something profound. You are never truly holding on to them. You are holding on to an idea, an expectation, a version of yourself that no longer exists. The person you are becoming no longer needs what the person you were once clung to. And that is growth. That is freedom. That is the beginning of something new. Growth begins the moment you recognize that your attachments do not define you. The pain of letting go is often just resistance to change, a fear of stepping into the unknown. But what if the unknown holds something far greater than anything you've lost? What if detachment isn't about losing, but about gaining clarity, strength, and a deeper understanding of yourself? The mind clings to what is familiar, even when it no longer serves us. We replay old conversations, dwell on memories, and build entire narratives around people and situations that no longer align with who we are becoming. But imagine what would happen if you redirected that energy. Instead of feeding the past, you invest in the present. Instead of holding on to what was, you embrace what is and what could be. Detachment is not about turning away from emotions. It is about seeing them for what they are. Feelings come and go like waves, but they do not control the ocean. You are not your emotions. You are the observer of them. When you understand this, you stop reacting impulsively. You stop letting external forces dictate your inner state. You realize that true power lies in choosing how you respond. Think about how much of your life has been shaped by the fear of loss. How many decisions have you made out of attachment? How many times have you stayed in situations that drained you simply because the idea of letting go seemed too painful? But the Stoics taught that suffering is often not caused by events themselves, but by the way we perceive them. It's not the loss that breaks us. It's our resistance to it. It's not rejection that wounds us. It's the meaning we attach to it. But when you stop assigning unnecessary weight to these experiences, when you see them as simply part of life's natural rhythm, you free yourself. You realize that nothing truly belongs to you. Not people, not moments, not even time itself. Everything is borrowed. And when you understand this, you start to live differently. You stop begging for people to stay. You stop chasing after what is leaving. You stop fearing the unknown. because you trust yourself enough to navigate it. And this trust is what sets you apart. Most people live in fear of what they cannot control, but you, once you embrace this mindset, will move through life with a quiet confidence that cannot be shaken. Think about how rare that is. In a world where so many are consumed by attachment, by the desperate need to hold on, imagine the freedom of simply letting go. Not in a way that makes you cold or detached from life, but in a way that allows you to experience everything more deeply, because you are no longer paralyzed by the fear of losing it. This kind of detachment brings clarity. It allows you to see things as they truly are, rather than how you wish them to be. You recognize when a relationship has run its course instead of forcing it to continue out of habit. You accept change as a natural part of life, instead of resisting it at every turn. And you understand that your peace is far too valuable to be placed in the hands of anything external. When you reach this level of awareness, you stop wasting time on things that drain you. You stop investing in situations that do not contribute to your growth. You become intentional with your energy, and that is when life begins to shift. Because the truth is, everything you think you need is often just an illusion. The validation, the security, the idea that something outside of you will complete you, it's all a distraction. The only thing that has ever truly belonged to you is your own mind, your own ability to think, to choose, to adapt. That is your power. And when you reclaim it, when you stop giving it away to things beyond your control, you become unstoppable. And perhaps the most surprising part of all this is that the moment you stop clinging, the moment you let go of the need to control, life begins to unfold in ways you never expected. The right people stay, not because you forced them to, but because they are meant to. Opportunities appear, not because you chased them desperately, but because you created the space for them to arrive. This is not about apathy. It is not about disengaging from life. It is about stepping into it fully, without fear, without desperation, without the need to hold on so tightly that you suffocate what was meant to flow freely. Because when you trust that you are enough, that you always have been, and that you always will be, no matter what happens, no matter who stays or leaves, you step into a kind of freedom that few ever experience. A freedom that allows you to truly live. And this is where most people hesitate. They hear the idea of letting go, of detaching from outcomes, and they mistake it for passivity. They assume it means giving up, not caring, or losing ambition. But that's not the case at all. In fact, it's the opposite. Letting go doesn't mean withdrawing from life. It means engaging with it fully, but without fear, without clinging, without the desperation that makes people act out of scarcity rather than strength. Because when you stop attaching your happiness to specific outcomes, you don't lose your drive, you enhance it. You stop making decisions based on fear and start making them from a place of clarity. You don't waste time chasing what was never meant for you. You don't live in the past, dwelling on what could have been. You step forward, fully present, ready to embrace whatever comes your way. And that is what sets you apart. Think about it. How many times have you held on to something that was hurting you, simply because you were afraid of what life would be like without it? How often have you stayed in situations that drained you, just because the idea of change felt overwhelming? This is where most people stay stuck, not because they don't have the ability to move forward, but because they've convinced themselves that what they have, even if it's making them miserable, is better than the unknown. But the unknown is not your enemy. It is where growth happens. It is where transformation begins. It is where you become the person you are meant to be. And when you shift your perspective, when you start seeing uncertainty as an opportunity rather than a threat, you begin to move through life differently. You become more adaptable, more resilient, more powerful. Because here's the truth. Everything in life is temporary. Every experience, every relationship, every opportunity, it all has a cycle. And when you resist this natural flow, when you try to force things to last beyond their time, you create suffering for yourself. But when you learn to flow with life rather than against it, you experience a kind of peace that most people will never know. This is why the Stoics placed so much emphasis on controlling your mind rather than trying to control the world around you, because they understood that external circumstances will always be unpredictable. People will change, plans will fall apart, life will throw challenges your way. But none of these things have the power to disturb your peace unless you allow them to. And this is where your true power lies. Not in controlling others, not in forcing situations to unfold the way you want them to, but in mastering yourself, in learning to navigate life with wisdom, patience, and an unshakable sense of self. Imagine living this way. Imagine moving through the world without fear of the future, without regret for the past, and without attachment to things that do not serve you. Imagine the freedom of knowing that no matter what happens, you will be okay, that you will adapt, that you will find a way forward. Because the reality is, strength is not about never experiencing difficulty. It's about knowing that difficulty does not define you. It's about understanding that every challenge is temporary, every loss is an opening for something new, and every setback is an opportunity to build yourself into someone even stronger. And when you truly internalize this, when you stop fighting against reality and start working with it, everything changes. You become more present, more intentional, more in control, not of the world, but of yourself. And that is the greatest power you could ever possess. And once you realize this, once you truly understand that your power lies in how you respond, rather than in what happens to you, something incredible happens. You stop feeling like a victim of life's circumstances. You stop waiting for things to go your way in order to feel at peace. Instead, you cultivate peace within yourself, independent of what's happening around you. And this is a rare kind of strength, one that few people ever develop because they are too focused on trying to control the uncontrollable. But think about it. How much energy have you wasted worrying about things that were never in your hands? How many nights have you spent replaying past mistakes, wishing you could change them? How many days have you spent anxious about the future, trying to predict what will happen next? This is what keeps most people trapped. Not their circumstances, but their own minds. They believe that peace will come once everything falls into place. But the truth is, peace is something you create, not something you wait for. This is why the Stoics practiced the art of focusing only on what they could control, because they understood that the more you invest your energy into things beyond your power, the more you weaken yourself. You give away your strength. You allow external events to dictate your state of mind. And this is a dangerous way to live, because it means that your happiness, your sense of self, and your inner stability are all at the mercy of things you cannot predict or change. But imagine shifting your mindset. Imagine taking back that power. Instead of worrying about the outcome, you focus on your effort. Instead of stressing over things you cannot change, you focus on how you respond. Instead of trying to control people, you learn to control yourself. And when you do this, something incredible happens. You become untouchable. No matter what happens, you remain steady. No matter who comes and goes from your life, you remain whole. No matter how uncertain the future is, you move forward with confidence because you know that you are prepared for whatever comes next. And this is where true freedom begins, not in avoiding difficulty, but in facing it head-on without fear. Not in trying to control everything, but in mastering yourself. Because when you do this, life stops feeling like something that is happening to you and starts feeling like something you are actively shaping. Now, this doesn't mean that challenges won't arise. It doesn't mean that you won't experience loss, disappointment, or hardship. But it does mean that these things will no longer have the power to break you, because you will have built a foundation within yourself that is unshakable, a foundation based on discipline, resilience, and an unwavering sense of purpose. And this is something few people ever achieve. Most people go through life reacting to whatever happens, letting their emotions control them, and allowing fear to dictate their choices. But you don't have to live that way. You can choose to develop a mindset that allows you to navigate any situation with wisdom and strength. You can choose to stop being a prisoner of your own thoughts and start taking control of your life. Because at the end of the day, life is unpredictable. You cannot always control what happens, but you can always control how you respond. And when you master this, you master everything. This is why the greatest philosophers, warriors, and leaders throughout history all shared one thing in common. They mastered themselves before they tried to master anything else. Because no matter how much knowledge you acquire, no matter how much success you achieve, if you are not in control of yourself, none of it will bring you peace. And peace is what people spend their entire lives searching for, whether they realize it or not. Some chase money, thinking it will bring them security. Others chase validation, believing it will make them feel worthy. Some chase distractions, hoping to escape the thoughts they don't want to face. But all of these are temporary solutions. None of them offer true stability because they are all external. They depend on things outside of you. But real strength, real confidence, real fulfillment, these things come from within. And the moment you stop searching for them in the outside world and start building them internally, your entire life changes. Because suddenly, you're no longer afraid of losing things. You're no longer controlled by fear, by doubt, by the opinions of others. You become your own foundation, and when you do that, nothing can shake you. And this is something that most people never realize. They spend years, even decades, chasing happiness in places where it can't be found. They think, once I have more money, then I'll feel secure. Once I find the right person, then I'll feel complete. Once I achieve this goal, then I'll be happy. But the problem with this way of thinking is that it never ends. Because once they reach that milestone, they set another one. Once they get what they wanted, they start wanting something else. And this cycle continues forever, keeping them in a constant state of waiting, always believing that happiness is just around the corner. But what if it's not? What if everything you've been searching for is already within you, waiting to be developed? What if you stopped searching for external solutions to internal problems and instead started building yourself from the inside out? Imagine what that would look like. Imagine how different your life would feel if you no longer needed anything outside of yourself to feel whole. If you knew that no matter what happened, you would be okay because your strength didn't come from your circumstances, it came from you. This is what the Stoics understood better than anyone. They didn't rely on luck, on fortune, on the approval of others. They relied on themselves. They focused on what they could control and let go of everything else. And in doing so, they found the one thing that most people spend their lives searching for: freedom. Because real freedom isn't about having no problems. It's about not being ruled by them. It's about knowing that no matter what life throws at you, you have the strength to handle it. And once they trained themselves to expect challenges, to embrace discomfort, to see obstacles not as roadblocks but as opportunities to grow, they understood that suffering is not the real problem. Our reaction to it is. And once you change your perspective, once you stop resisting hardship and start using it to your advantage, everything shifts. Imagine facing a setback, and instead of feeling frustrated, you see it as a lesson. Imagine dealing with criticism, and instead of feeling discouraged, you use it to improve. Imagine waking up every day knowing that no matter what happens, you have the mindset to handle it. That kind of confidence doesn't come from external success. It comes from mastery over yourself. And the best part? Anyone can develop it. You don't need special circumstances. You don't need to be born with it. It's a skill, and like any skill, it gets stronger with practice. Every time you face a difficulty and choose discipline over despair, you grow. Every time you resist the urge to complain and instead take action, you get better. Every time you control your emotions instead of letting them control you, you build the kind of strength that lasts a lifetime. But most people never do this because they take the easy path. They avoid discomfort. They make excuses. They wait for motivation instead of building discipline. And in doing so, they remain stuck, controlled by their emotions, dependent on their circumstances, always waiting for things to change instead of changing themselves. But that doesn't have to be you. You have a choice. Right now, in this very moment, you can decide to start training yourself for the life you truly want. It won't happen overnight, but every step you take, every challenge you face, with a stronger mindset, moves you closer to becoming the person you were meant to be. Because at the end of the day, the only thing standing between you and your potential is the way you choose to think, to act, to respond. And once you take control of that, there is nothing, absolutely nothing, that can stop you. So how do you start? How do you build this unshakable mindset, this inner strength that allows you to face anything life throws at you? It begins with awareness. Most people go through life on autopilot, reacting without thinking, letting their emotions dictate their actions. But the moment you stop and observe yourself, your thoughts, your reactions, your impulses, you take the first step toward mastery. The Stoics practiced this constantly. They would reflect on their day, analyze their responses, and ask themselves, did I act out of wisdom, or did I let emotions control me? Did I focus on what I could control, or did I waste energy on things beyond my power? This level of self-awareness is rare, but it's the foundation of everything. Because once you see your own patterns, you can change them. And that's where the real work begins. Once you recognize your tendencies, you start training yourself to respond differently. You practice patience when you're tempted to be impulsive. You practice gratitude when you feel like complaining. You practice resilience when things don't go your way. Each small decision, each moment of discipline strengthens your mind like a muscle. But let's be clear, this is not easy. It requires effort. It requires discomfort. It requires you to be honest with yourself about your weaknesses and commit to overcoming them. Most people won't do this. They'll say they want to be strong, but the moment they face resistance, they give up. They'll say they want to improve, but they won't put in the work. That's why true mental strength is so rare. Because it's not given, it's earned. Through repetition, through challenges, through the decision every single day to be better than you were yesterday. And the truth is, you don't have to wait for some big crisis to start developing this strength. You can start right now in the smallest ways. Train yourself to wake up early, even when you don't feel like it. Train yourself to work on your goals, even when motivation is low. Train yourself to remain calm in situations that would normally frustrate you, because these small wins add up. They build the foundation of a person who can handle anything. Think of it like forging a sword. The strongest blades aren't made in comfort. They're shaped by fire, by pressure, by the relentless process of refinement. Your mind is the same. If you want it to be strong, you have to be willing to put it through the fire of discipline. You have to be willing to endure discomfort now, so that you can be unbreakable later. And when you do this, something incredible happens. You stop fearing challenges. You stop avoiding difficulty. You stop hoping for an easy life. And instead, you become someone who is ready for whatever comes. That is true freedom. Because when you are in control of your mind, no situation, no setback, no hardship can truly defeat you. But the question is, will you commit to this path? Or will you fall back into old habits, letting circumstances control you? The choice is yours. The choice is yours, but understand this. Every decision you make, no matter how small, is either strengthening you or weakening you. There is no neutral ground. When you choose discipline over comfort, when you choose action over excuses, when you choose to control your emotions rather than letting them control you, you are reinforcing the kind of person who can handle anything. But when you choose the opposite, when you give in to laziness, when you let distractions take over, when you allow temporary emotions to dictate your actions, you are making yourself weaker. And weakness has consequences. When life inevitably throws challenges your way, when things don't go according to plan, when you face setbacks, your level of mental strength will determine how you respond. Do you break down, complain, and give up? Or do you face it with calm determination, knowing that this is just another test to sharpen your mind? The reality is, life will not always be fair. It will not always be kind. There will be obstacles, failures, and moments where things feel impossible. But that's exactly why this mindset is so important. Because while most people will crumble under pressure, you will not. While most people will search for excuses, you will search for solutions. While most people will allow their emotions to dictate their reality, you will take control. This is what separates the strong from the weak. Not talent, not luck, not circumstances. It is the ability to face discomfort head-on, to accept reality as it is, and to keep moving forward regardless of how you feel. And if you can master this, if you can train yourself to be unshaken by the ups and downs of life, you will become unstoppable. But understand this, true strength is not just about enduring hardship. It's also about having the discipline to do what's right, even when no one is watching. It's about keeping your word, following through on your commitments, and being the kind of person that others can rely on. It's about taking responsibility for your actions, refusing to make excuses, and holding yourself to a higher standard than the world expects of you. Most people drift through life, letting circumstances dictate their direction. But you don't have to be like most people. You can choose to take control. You can choose to live with purpose. You can choose to build yourself into someone who doesn't just survive challenges, but thrives in them. And the best part? The more you push yourself, the more you train your mind, the more natural this way of thinking becomes. It stops feeling like effort and starts feeling like who you are. You become the kind of person who is naturally disciplined, naturally resilient, naturally strong. But this transformation doesn't happen overnight. It's a process that requires patience, consistency, and an unshakable commitment to growth. So ask yourself, are you willing to do what it takes? Are you willing to push past discomfort? Are you willing to step up, take control, and become the strongest version of yourself? Because if you are, there is nothing stopping you, nothing except the limits you place on yourself. And those limits? They are not real. They are illusions, barriers created by fear, by doubt, by the comfort of staying the same. But you are not meant to stay the same. You are meant to grow, to evolve, to become something greater than you were yesterday. The only question is, will you take that path, or will you let hesitation hold you back? The truth is, hesitation is the enemy. It whispers excuses. It fills your mind with reasons to wait, to delay, to stay within the safety of what you know. But deep down, you already know that waiting never leads to progress. The longer you wait, the harder it gets. The more you overthink, the more impossible it seems. That's why action is the answer. Not perfect to action, not waiting until you feel ready. Just action, even if it's small, even if it's uncomfortable. Because once you start moving, once you take that first step, you prove to yourself that the obstacles in your mind were never as big as they seemed. And with every step forward, your confidence grows. Your resilience strengthens. You begin to trust yourself, not in some vague motivational way, but in a deep, undeniable way. You start to realize that you are capable of more than you ever imagined, that you don't need permission, that you don't need everything to be perfect before you begin. Look at the people who inspire you, the ones who have built something meaningful, the ones who seem unshaken by adversity. Do you think they had some special advantage? Do you think they never doubted themselves? Number. The difference is they acted despite their doubts. They moved forward despite their fears. They understood that hesitation is a luxury they couldn't afford, because every moment you hesitate is a moment lost. Every excuse you accept is a step backward. Every time you choose comfort over progress, you reinforce the habit of staying the same. And habits define you. They shape your future. They determine whether you rise or whether you remain stuck. So the real question is, what kind of person are you becoming? Not in theory, not in words, but in action. When you face resistance, do you push through or do you pull back? When life challenges you, do you rise to meet it or do you shrink away? This is not about motivation. Motivation fades. It comes and goes like the weather. What matters is discipline. What matters is training yourself to take action, regardless of how you feel. And the only way to build that discipline is to stop waiting for the perfect moment. Stop waiting to feel ready and start moving forward now. Because at the end of the day, your future is not decided by luck, by fate, or by waiting for the perfect circumstances. It's decided by you, by the choices you make every single day, The small actions, the moments where you decide to push forward instead of hold back, the times when you choose growth over comfort. You have everything you need within you. You don't need to be fearless. You just need to act despite the fear. You don't need to be perfect. You just need to start. You don't need all the answers. You just need to take the first step. And once you do, momentum takes over. Strength builds. Progress compounds. And before you know it, you've become someone who no longer hesitates, someone who no longer waits, someone who takes control of their own life and makes things happen. So don't let today be another day of waiting. Let today be the day you make a decision, the decision to move, to commit, to step into your full potential. Because the best version of yourself is not somewhere far away. It's not out of reach. It's right there, waiting for you to take action. And if you want more motivation, more wisdom, more ways to break through the limits that hold you back, then make sure to subscribe to this channel. Because this is just the beginning. There is so much more ahead, more insights, more strategies, more ways to keep you on track toward the life you're meant to live. So hit that subscribe button, turn on notifications, and keep pushing forward. Your future self is waiting.